right, Gina, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, ladies. This is awesome. I am so excited to be on here.
I know if you are watching us on video today, we have a little setup because today is a special day. It's a little more fancy than normal. We have, for our listeners who are not watching us, we have a gold tablecloth, some cheese and crackers set up.
Very nice setup.
So we're getting a little fancy today, and you'll find out why. So let's jump right into it. And Gina Lyons, she's from A Vine Affair. She's the creator. And tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yes. Well, thank you. Gosh, where do I start? So I've been in fashion for basically my entire adult life, mainly in corporate at the latter side of my career. I worked for Michael Kors proudly. I loved that brand, and I worked for them actually in Europe. So I was head of their customer experience department. So I would basically teach teams how to sell luxury goods and how to clientele and kind of make sure that we were making money in the stores. So I did that for several years before I kind of came to a crossroads. With my role, I was based out of London, but I wasn't living in London. I was living in Ireland at the time, and they kind of wanted all the corporate roles to be based in London. So I had kind of a sit down with my husband, and I was like, I don't really want to move to London. I've been in big cities. I lived in Tokyo and Singapore before that, and I didn't want to move back to the big cities. I just felt claustrophobic in London, even though it's a great city. So it was kind of the time he was really busy. He was traveling, and he's like, well, why don't you just kind of help me? And we're moving to Florida in about 8 months or so. So maybe we just find you a job when you get there. And I was like, okay, perfect. So I was sad to leave, but it was an opportunity to be able to kind of do something else. So while I was in the corporate world, I was blogging about wine. So I was learning, self-studying, and then starting kind of this journey of wine education on my own on an Instagram account called Champagne Squad. And I was kind of just sharing my love for wine. It was kind of a recent passion while I was traveling Europe. I really loved food and wine that I was enjoying at the time. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about it. So I was blogging about it. And after my corporate job, as soon as I left, I kind of threw myself into it. I was helping my husband a little bit with what he was doing, but I had a lot of spare time. And I decided to just start working on this Instagram, learning Instagram and learning how to kind of communicate on it, how to take photos, like make them look pretty, and then also do some courses in wine. So I was kind of just self-developing around the whole wine blogging world. And so during that time, because I got to spend so much time doing it, my account grew quite quickly. And I realized that this was kind of something that people were drawn to. They wanted to learn about wine in an approachable and fun way. It didn't need to be like this really crazy concept. The wine world can be quite intimidating. So I kind of just wanted to continue to bring that concept to people. So that was, 2019. I did that. And just continued to go full force into the Instagram. I then was approached by a friend of mine who had a local business at the time and said, hey, could you help us with our Instagram account? Because you seem to have grown a lot. And I was like, all right, sure. So I helped them with their account, and then they referred me to somebody else and to somebody else and to somebody else. So then I realized I was actually doing Instagram full time, like for other accounts, including my own. And it was pretty cool. It's a complicated world to be going on Instagram, to grow on Instagram. It takes a lot of creativity, a lot of thought, a lot of patience. But I did enjoy it. During that time, I continued to further my education in wine. We moved here in the end of February 2020. So right before everything, the whole world closed down, which was crazy. Thank God we made it to Florida.
Yeah, I was going to say good time. Like it was a good time.
Thank God. I know. Thank God we made it to Florida because we were in the UK and they just didn't have a very good 2020 for sure. So we made it here, and that's kind of when the UK really went into shutdown, and my clients their businesses were not open. So they didn't really find the need to have Instagram. It was kind of like their first thing that went was their social media. So I kind of was like temporarily let go from my clients until they kind of found their ground again in the UK. And so I was like, okay, now what am I going to do? And so nothing was open at the time. So it's not like I could have even looked for a job. So I just decided I was like, okay, what's going on in the world right now? People are home. They want to learn. People are picking up new kind of hobbies and things like that. And I was like, why don't I start bringing the world of champagne virtually to my followers? So on a weekly basis, I started an IG Live called United in Bubbly. Cute. Is what I did, United in Bubbly. And I just kind of pitched it to a bunch of champagne houses and then other sparkling wines as well. And just kind of said, like, would you like to come on? We'll drink one of your bottles, like one of your cuvées together. And, I can encourage people to buy it. And we can just talk about it and people can drink along. And that's exactly what happened. People were actually buying the bottles that we told them to buy, and they would show up on the Saturday and they would be able to connect with us on IG Live and talk to the producers themselves. And really just kind of find a connection through, the virtual world, so to say. So I was one of kind of the first wine bloggers that did that. And I was featured on the HuffPost because of it, which I'm really, I was really excited about. I think that was like my first time being featured anywhere. So I was like, wow. Awesome. And so I then I started doing that. That was my weekly IG Live, my virtual tasting. Then I partnered with a really good friend of mine here locally who is an expert in Spanish wines. And I said, hey, what if we did like this wine and food pairing? Because people are like cooking from home now. And what if we do it and support local businesses or support small food businesses to get their names out there, because they were offering kind of online stuff. So she was like, yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. So we were doing that together every week as well. So we were featuring a sparkling wine and then featuring kind of like a food product that was online or some small business, as much as we could in Florida, but anywhere else that was able to deliver. So people would then buy the food package and they would buy the wine package, and then they would join us on IG Live and we would cook together or we would drink together. And that was so much fun as well.
That's so innovative that you thought of that.
Well, I think, at the time, restaurants were really hurting. Food was really hurting concepts. So there were restaurants that were never online that just started to be online. And there were food products that were only in stores that were never online. So I saw the world of wine and food kind of fall apart during 2020. And I felt the need to want to help in any way, shape, or form. So we kind of just put ourselves out there and started contacting food businesses and said, hey, would you like to be featured? We would just pick out the food like cheese and meats that would pair really well with sparkling wine and feature them.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and I'm sure every company or every business at that time was like, yeah, like whatever we can do to bring in business right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? They were really excited about it and to get their names out there on, our tasting, but also we would post about it on our social media and kind of gain exposure. And so it was great partnerships, and we didn't really know what we were doing, and we didn't realize that it would lead us to what I'm doing today, because that's exactly what I do now in my company. So we did that just for fun. And then we thought to ourselves, well, 2020 is still hanging on there. People are still at home. So why don't we, while we can, start a business that does this? Because I feel like people are buying the food, they're buying the wine. Maybe if they pay a small fee and it can be more of a private tasting, then we all win. And, because we put a lot of work into the virtual lives, even if it was every single week we were, researching the producer, we were researching the food company, and we'd have to speak to it. So it was a lot of work being put into, plus the format of the live and things like that. So we thought, oh, maybe we can make a small business out of it. So we decided to do that, exactly that. I can't remember how I came up with a Vine Affair, but I was sitting down trying to think of really clever names. And I don't know if a Fine Affair came into my head. And then I thought, oh, a Vine Affair. Let's do a Vine Affair.
That makes sense, right?
So yeah, so we were thinking, and it ironically was not taken on Instagram. It was not taken on the web. So we're like, let's get it, let's book it, let's buy everything immediately. I was like, I'm getting the name right now, because we thought it was quite clever for what it was, and we were so surprised that it wasn't already taken. So a Vine Affair was born. we had our first virtual tasting, which was with a champagne house and a caviar house. And that was our first one, which was really scary. I mean, even, to get people to buy champagne and caviar and have this experience, it can be quite expensive. But I think people were like willing to pay for luxury things because they were at home.
Right.
They weren't spending their money on travel and out to eat for restaurants. So they really were all about it and they loved it. And so from there, that's kind of where we took off, and we were offering wine and food experiences all throughout the US. We were also offering it local here in Tampa, still virtually. So we would deliver the wine and the food to you personally in our cars. And then we'd all sit and, that evening virtually and get everyone together. So, I mean, I think after we started it, there was a long-term goal of always doing in-person events. And so eventually it led to that. And then in 2021, my business partner had to step down because she was changing jobs and she's not able to have a job outside her other job, which was really sad for us, but she's my bestie, so it's fine. It worked out in the end. So in 2021, I decided, okay, so what worked well from 2020 and what didn't work so well from 2020, and what actually made me happy from what we did, because we kind of exhausted ourselves, to be honest, with the virtual tastings.
Driving around and dropping off all of that.
I know. Exactly. And I think people feel it now. They're exhausted to be on Zoom like all day, every day. And so towards the end of 2020, we saw a decline in the need for virtual tastings in some areas of our business. So, and because I was already exhausted with that, I thought, okay, so what's going to continue long-term for me now that I'm on my own? Like, what can I physically do? And because I've spent so much time studying champagne and also caviar now, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be like giving champagne and caviar experiences. And I'm going to take that concept and I'm just going to kind of offer it in every way, shape, or form somebody would want it. So if it's a sit down date night caviar with your husband or your wife in person, and it's a really special like anniversary, I'll offer that. If it's, a champagne tasting as a group, like what you guys did, that's cool. That's probably my main bread and butter, like larger groups, corporate groups. And then also gifting, like gift boxes and things like that. So I thought, like, how can I expand the world of champagne and caviar to everyone? And so 2020 was like all about getting rid of the things that I didn't really enjoy. And I realized like, I'm not really passionate about red wines from Napa. So like, I don't really want to talk about them, to be honest with you, but I am really passionate about champagne. I'm passionate about cheese and caviar. So that's what I'm going to offer. And I know it's super niche, but let's give it a try.
I love that. And actually, backstory, that's how we met you, Gina.
Yeah.
We hosted an event through NextPath. It was a women's event at one of the local places here. And it was great. Like, I was like, wow, like this girl knows her stuff, knows her champagne.
Oh, thank you.
And we had to have you on the podcast after that. But I want you to share kind of going into the champagne piece of it, because I didn't know that champagne was so complex.
Yeah.
Like usually I have champagne at brunch with my OJ.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I like tell our listeners and tell us like the different types of champagne,
sure,
or like whatever. I don't even know.
Yeah. I'll give you like a little brief champagne 101.
Perfect.
Like a crash course. So champagne is sparkling wine from Champagne, France. So it's only from this small little region in the north of France. Every other sparkling wine, even in France, outside of this region, is not champagne. So it's just sparkling wine. So I think that's like the biggest thing for everyone to know is when you're talking about champagne, it comes with a high price point because it's from only one small area in France. And so there's not a lot of it compared to the amount of sparkling wine that you have around the world. So it comes from this region very far north in France. It's a very cold and the weather is very disruptive a lot of the time. It's very hard for the growers to grow grapes. So that also plays into the higher price point for champagne as well. Champagne is broken up into some subregions. The great thing about it is The soils of Champagne are all different throughout the subregion. So they have specialty, like the soils will help nurture certain grapes. So they have 3 main grapes in Champagne: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. And that's really all you'll find in your Champagnes. So you'll find either a combination of all 3, or you'll have a combination of one of each. So, the different styles of Champagne you'll find are, you'll have a Brut, non-vintage. If it doesn't say anything special in here, normally it's some sort of combination of the grapes. If it says Blanc de Blanc, then it's 100% Chardonnay. If it says Blanc de Noir, it's 100% Pinot Noir or Pinot Meunier. And because of that, is Chardonnay's grape is a white grape. Blanc de Blanc means white of whites, and Blanc de Noir means white of blacks, and those are black grapes, so Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. So those are the 3 grapes that go into it. Then you have different styles based on the dosage or the sugar levels in your wine, the sweetness levels in your wine. So Brut would be your standard dry Champagne. And the great thing about it is it's normally marked on the label. So if you love dry styled wine or a sparkling wine, go for the Brut, because it's always going to be dry in style. You're never going to have like that sense of sweetness in there. And then you'll go up a few levels. I would say in other sparkling wines, it's quite often you can find dry. And although that says dry, it sounds dry. It's not as dry as Brut. So there'll be like some sort of level of sweetness in that. So a lot of Proseccos would be the dry style.
So do they add in sugar then? If if it's not labeled Brut, then they probably add sugar into it to make it a little bit sweeter?
Sure. So basically the way that Champagne is made, it like 99% of the time has added sugar. So what happens is Champagne goes through the normal fermentation every single wine goes through. But in order to get the bubbles, it goes through a second fermentation inside the bottle. And with that second fermentation, after that happens, sugar is added. And the sugar is added for balance, because Champagne and sparkling wines are usually really acidic. So if you don't add some sort of level of sweetness, there's a lot of acid and it'll be quite austere when you try it, and unapproachable. So for Champagne, in order to soften a bit, they'll add a level of sugar. Even with the Brut. So the only one that doesn't get added sugar is Brut Nature, which is 0 grams of added sugar. I believe we had a Brut Nature. The Prosecco that we had together was a Brut Nature, so it had no added sugar.
That was really good.
It was really good. I love that style. And the world of sparkling wine is trending towards the drier style. So it's very rare to find a Prosecco that is a Brut Nature. It like is unheard of. That was the first time I even tried a Prosecco that was Brut Nature. So I think the trends of sparkling wine is going towards the drier. And I think it's a lot to do about our palates, but also about health and things like that. So
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is it a health thing? Because they're like, okay, less sugar, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to be health conscious and
exactly. Yeah. I always call a Brut Nature skinny Champagne. So, if you're on a diet, that's the one you should be drinking.
And I learned this at our last event, but there's a difference between Prosecco and Champagne. So no, not to be confused. There's a difference there.
Absolutely. So they're coming from 2 different countries, 2 different regions. First of all, so that's the first. They also use different grapes. So Prosecco uses the Glera grape, a completely different grape. And then they're made completely differently in the sense that Prosecco is made, the second fermentation of Prosecco is not in a bottle, it's in a large tank. And the reason why it's in a large tank is to celebrate this like really fresh and fruitiness of that style of grape. So it works best like that. Whereas Champagne has these 3 grapes that can really be enhanced through the bottle aging. And it's meant to have, it can be fresh and fruity, but it also has a lot of complexity about it. Champagne is known to have like those bready notes in it as well. And even nutty notes from aging and things like that. So it's a whole different animal.
Did you know that before?
Nope. I was just thinking like, wait a minute. So then is Prosecco completely different from other sparkling wines?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a course.
I know. I mean, sparkling wines, you can find sparkling wines from all over the world. So from Australia to the US to Italy to Germany, they're all different and they all can be made differently. I don't think that any of them quality wise overall is going to be the same as Champagne. But there's some really great sparkling wines from around the world.
Should we try this one?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, you want to try it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to teach you how to open the bottle?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God. Every time I do this though, just be aware that I usually get an explosion. Every time I want to show somebody anything
All right.
and look like a pro. Okay. So when you're opening a sparkling wine bottle, a couple things to note is the whole idea is not to make it pop, right? You want to make it hiss. Okay. And the reason why you want to do that is there's like millions of bubbles in here and you don't want any of them to escape, right? Because that's what champagne's all about.
Wait, so you don't want the cork to pop?
You don't want the cork because if you let the cork pop, then it's going to let a lot of air out, And so what you want to do is just let it slightly hiss. So that way you've got all the bubbles still in here.
Okay.
Me neither.
Yeah, I know. So nobody really wants the cork. Like you really don't want the cork to pop, but
It's
like
more fun to do that.
but it's more fun and it's even more fun to savor, but we won't do that because we're in a room today. So one thing to note, you want it to hiss. The second thing to note is you want it to always face away from you because it's super dangerous. People always get hit with champagne corks more often than you think. And it's just not fun. So the way that you want to open this the right way is you want to make sure that you always have your thumb firmly on the top. This is called the mousselet, by the way. And this holds the cork in, even though the cork should be pretty secure inside there since it's been in there for a while. So you just want to untwist the mousselet. And then what you want to do is obviously aim the bottle away from you and just put your kind of hand securely on here. And while I am twisting the bottom of the bottle and not the cork, I'm holding very firmly on the top. So there's pressure going down while I'm twisting.
So I noticed that you did not take the mousselet off, which I normally do.
Yeah.
I'll unscrew that, which I just thought was the metal piece. I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah.
And then I would take it off and then right, exactly.
Exactly.
Right, everything you're not.
Well, I think, the mousselet is on there to protect the cork from popping. So, sometimes if you open up a mousselet and there's a lot, say this bottle has been, roughed around a bit, the cork will pop right off. If you take the mousselet off, it'll just fly off. And it's happened to me before. So the best thing is to keep the mousselet on and you've got a better grip of this bottle.
Right.
Like this one really wants to come out. So give me just a second. And
it always scares me whenever.
And it can hiss even better than that, by the way. That wasn't even good.
But it wasn't like a loud pop or anything. I think that was really good.
No, you can really some people are really good at it and it'll be like, like just a small hiss. But hey, we didn't let any bubbles escape. So it's all good.
Good. So what type of champagne did you bring?
Okay, so I brought you guys like a really special champagne today. Okay, so I'm really, really happy to bring you this. As it says on the bottle, Special Club. So this is these are kind of like my favorite styles of champagne. And the reason why is they're the Prestige Cuvée. So they're like, Prestige Cuvée in champagne is like the top cuvées you can find. They're the most expensive that you can find in champagne. So for example, Dom Perignon, Cristal, right? These are Prestige Cuvées, Tête Cuvées. The Special Club is the Tête Cuvée or Prestige Cuvée of growers, okay? And the reason why we say grower champagne versus main houses of champagne is because 90% of the champagne that you find in the stores will be purchased grapes from big houses that purchase their grapes from small growers, so small families. So they sell their grapes to these big houses. And the big houses like kind of make massive blends of their wines made from the small growers' grapes. So the Tête Cuvée Special Clubs are from just those growers. So it's from their individual plots or their vineyards. And it's the best wine that this little family can make.
Oh,
yeah.
Love it.
So
did you talk to the family before you came today?
They actually didn't tell them I was opening it. And I think also the importer, Christine, I didn't tell you I was opening this either. I will let them know. They'll know. I'm going to take a couple of pictures so they know. But the family is based in Lourdes. They're a lovely, lovely family.
You're in Lourdes?
Yeah. Oh, no. I know,
Wait.
No. Not this Lourdes.
You didn't know they make champagne in Lourdes?
You didn't know?
I was like, where are those grapevines? I have not seen them.
I wish they were this close. I wish. No, unfortunately, this family is based in Lourdes, Champagne. Lourdes, Champagne.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe they have like a plot of land and over there in France and live here.
I know. I don't know. Maybe Terry, maybe you live in Florida and I don't even know it.
We're not even drinking yet. And
I know.
Like, these silly
Who knows? I mean, they could. I'm sure they've vacationed in Florida though at some point. But yeah, this is they're based in Lourdes, which is a village of Champagne that specializes in Pinot Meunier, the grape. So 70% of their plots are Pinot Meunier. They've been in the special club because the special club overall is an organization of growers, about 20 plus growers, who have decided to come together and market their Tete Cuvées. So they've been a part of the special club since 1973. They have been around since 1888. Wow. So they've been growing grapes since 1888. And so they know a thing or two. I think that's what's great about these growers is they know their vines like so well. And, you know, when you go to Champagne, you visit a maison, like a big house, you're probably going to take a tour with, you know, a rep there or, you know, someone that does the tours, right? And that's what they do. And they bring you through like this big magical place and you're never going to meet the person that's in the vines. You're never going to meet the family that owns that house. But if you go visit Forget Chamon, first of all, let me know. Second of all, you're going to go meet the family. Like and all they do, like they tend to their vines. They work the wines in their cellars and you're probably going to visit their house and you're going to probably taste their wines in their living room. So it's very special and very family sort of thing. Which is really cool. So they work as organically as possible. So we've got some really, really great vine growing. This is a vintage champagne. So this is 2015 vintage, which is unusual. You know, when you're buying champagne at the store, most of it is non-vintage. So mix of vintages.
You mentioned at the wine tasting, if you get a bottle of champagne or sparkling wine, like drink it right away. Don't hold on to it.
Yep.
Why is this vintage? Like how does that work?
Sure. So if you get a non-vintage champagne, you don't have to hold on to it. It's not really meant to be held on to. But if you get a vintage champagne, these are the champagnes that you can let age. There's a big thing behind like, okay, well, the year, the location, the quality of the wine as far as holding on to it. But 2015 vintage was a dry and warm vintage. So it allowed the grapes to really ripen well. So for this vintage, there are a lot of vintage champagnes you'll find of 2015. So, you know, if you go shopping for that vintage, there's quite a bit. But some of them did really struggle with ripeness or acidity. Sorry, not ripeness, acidity. So some of them may not be worth keeping so long. But Meunier did really, really well in 2015. And 50% of this cuvee is Meunier. So I think that this one, the way we're going to drink it today, is going to be quite young and excitable. This is their newest release for their special club. Yet I think it's going to have the potential to age quite a bit. So I think next year it's going to be better. And the next year it'll be better. So as these quality wines age, they just get better with time.
So, okay, maybe I should correct myself. I think while you were talking, I remembered you mentioned not to let the Prosecco. Thank you. The Prosecco age, like that doesn't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Don't let Prosecco age.
Get that. Were talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should be drinking like 2020 Prosecco. I think we drank 2020 Prosecco together. So yeah, don't let Prosecco age. It's like never a good thing. Although I'm sure people on here, if they're Prosecco experts, might say something else, but yeah, Prosecco's not worth aging. Non-vintage champagne, you can keep it for maybe up to 5 years, but I would just drink it right away. It's made to just be drunk right away on most terms.
You always make every bottle of champagne seem so special that it's like, I don't think I would ever open it if I was like, if you didn't open it, I would probably not want to because it's so special.
It is. Well, this one is so special. You know what? All champagne is special, right? And I think there's a moment to open champagne. If we learned anything from 2020, every day is a champagne day. Like really, you need it every single day in your life. And I know that it can be an expensive habit. Like you can ask my husband for sure. but there's just something, I think there is something magical about champagne, and for me, it enhances every moment and enhances every dish. So whether you're bringing it out for, with burgers, or, you're bringing it out for someone's birthday, or just for a Friday evening, it will make everything better. It makes elevates everything.
Yes, that's a good word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So shall we try it?
Oh my gosh, I'm on the edge of my seat.
So we'll see if the temperature is okay. It might be a little bit warm, but it'll still taste good.
And we don't have fancy champagne glasses.
No, but you don't need it. It's great champagne.
So I'm noticing the way you're pouring it too. You have your thumb in the bottom of the bottle, and then your fingers underneath it.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Is there like a reason for that? Just like trying to not touch the bottle to make it warm?
Yeah, it's just really easy. Because if you put your thumb here, you have like a really good grip.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're pouring it, like technically I should probably be showing you the label when I do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pouring it this way, it's easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I pour, I always, angle the glass as much as I can. If somebody's giving me their glass not angled, it's fine. But, it's like kind of, I know this sounds like really crazy, but, when you're pouring other beverages like beers and stuff,
right. You always tilt the glass. And,
exactly.
Right, exactly.
So you kind of want to do the same.
Mm-hmm. Cheers.
Nice.
So cheers, ladies. Thanks for having me.
Can't wait to try it. That is really good.
Okay, what do we taste?
What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you taste?
I smell.
Do you smell strawberries?
I was going to say pear. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Strawberries too?
Maybe because I eat a lot of strawberries.
I feel like pear, and I even taste pear.
Yeah.
Yep. I get a lot of pear off of this one. Like green fruits, like green apples and pear.
It's funny when you say that, then I can taste it.
That's what you did with me and the strawberries.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could get strawberries too. I mean, you've got a black grape and a white grape in here. So they're both going to have different characteristics. I get a little bit of citrus, but yeah, mainly green fruits on this. And then you get a little bit of that bread or biscuit note or cookie note on there. And then I also get like an almond on it.
I can taste the almond.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, why do those types of flavors come to life?
So it's all about really the second fermentation in the bottle. So when champagne goes through the second fermentation, they add this thing called yeast. Yeast is like these live cells. And yeast's favorite thing to eat is sugar. So wine naturally has sugar. So when the wine is bottled and the yeast is put in, the yeast eat all the sugar until they die. And then once they die, they kind of create these like bready, yeasty notes in a champagne. Mm-hmm. And so when they're there longer, then you'll get those notes more and more in a champagne. And then also you'll get, nutty notes and things like that because there's aging involved in champagne. So there's more than just the fruit. You've got the yeast, and then you've got the yeast for a very long time. And then you might have even further aging once you take the yeast out. So this has been aged, this is 2015. Mm-hmm. So this has been in the bottle for, 6 years. So you've got some time on that. So you're going to get all of those extra complex notes in there. So
I love it. It's delicious.
Yeah. It's good. This one here, we would call it in the champagne world quite young and excitable still. It's brand new release from them. So it's going to need to find its way a little bit more. So I think next year or the following year, it's really going to drink well. The 2014 from them drank really well this year. So I expect as this bottle, well, not this one, but other ones that aren't drunk yet will get even better in the next couple of years.
So what types of like cheese or like food would you pair with this?
So I actually had this one with caviar in a tasting I did in Miami probably a month ago, and that was really good. We had it with, which one? I think we had it with Osietra caviar. And I think it paired really well. I think it's great this one will be great with a cheese board. I think French fries would be great. Fried
Really?
chicken would be great with this. Yeah. So yeah.
I love that perspective because I never thought to pop open or say pop anymore.
Yeah.
Open a bottle of champagne when I'm having hamburgers or French fries. Like I just didn't think that way. So you've opened my eyes to that. I love that.
Absolutely. One of my favorite pairings is champagne with French fried or fried food. So the reason why is because it's really acidic and there's the bubbles. So it really cuts through anything greasy. So it cleanses your palate. So when you're having that fried chicken or those French fries, take a sip of your champagne afterwards and it completely just like cleanses your palate and it makes you want more champagne or more French fries. So it's really, really good with fried food. Like it's excellent with fried food.
So we have to share with you. This is the perfect conversation for June because we are a year into our podcast.
Oh my God. So happy anniversary. Congratulations. Right? That is awesome. Oh, that makes me so happy to be a part of something so special. So happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Your anniversary. So oh, honey.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for having me on such a special occasion.
Yeah, thank you. And so we are going to include your website.
Amazing.
Or any other links at the bottom of our show notes.
Yep.
And so anyone, which we have a lot of business professionals or business leaders for local businesses around the area doing events and stuff, can reach out to you because I've gotten so many comments on the event that we did.
Oh, amazing.
That they loved it. And
so that makes me so happy. Yeah, absolutely. Like anyone that wants to learn a little bit more about champagne, definitely come my way. I'm happy to do. I do small groups, big groups, corporate, whatever, private. But yeah, I just love sharing the world of champagne and I've got some really fantastic partnerships. I've got some really cool stuff coming up actually next week, which is really crazy. So I've got like these extraordinary experiences I'm trying to put together. I've put together next week and will continue where I can actually bring a champagne house to you. So I've got Champagne Billicart Simone. We're doing a tour of the US together with my clients and we are bringing them a champagne house directly to them for a tasting.
Wow.
So next week is going to be kind of cool, but I want to continue to do that. So for people that are looking for something really approachable and fun, I've got it for you. If you're looking for gifts, I got it for you. If you're looking for something really spectacular, I'm working on it for you. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. Thank you for being on.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And until next time,
live bold and boss up.